This week we're going to begin working with styles, particularly CSS, which stands for Cascading Style Sheets, and you'll be learning all about the cascade and how we work with styles in our pages. The element tags that we place around content only tell the browser what kind of content that this is, but CSS tells it how we want it to look. Now, one way that we can put in styles is through something called Inline Styles. And to do that, you come to the opening tag. You never, ever place anything inside the closing tags. So inside the opening tag, right after the element name, you'll hit a space bar. You'll type style equals, and then you'll give it some attribute and then some value. And when you do Control S to save, then you'll see that element then begin to take on the style that you created here in line. These are called inline styles because they are placed in line with the code. But I hope you can see maybe right off the bat that this is not a great idea. Because what if my page, instead of being 20 some odd lines long, what if my page were 400 lines long or 4,000 lines long? And what if I had a website that had multiple pages that were multiple hundreds of lines long each? This is not a good solution. And the rule of thumb in web design is to stay away from inline styles as much as you possibly can. We don't want to work with inline styles. So that gives us two other ways that we can create styles. The second way is with something called embedded styles. We come up to the head section and we'll type style and then press tab here with Emmet to get the opening and closing style tag. The insertion point should be flashing immediately between the two style tags. You'll just hit enter and drive that down with a blank space in between. Now we come inside the opening and closing style tags right here inside the head section. And then what we do is we type what's called a selector. Now what I want to do is I want to select, let's say, this H6 element right here. H6, which you can see right here in live preview, is this tiny, tiny little line of text, because H6 by default is always going to be very small text in your browser. So if I come in here and I want to select that H6, then I type the H6 selector, space, and then a curly brace, hit enter, and you'll see the way that the closing curly brace is driven down a couple of lines in line with the selector, and then automatically here in brackets we're going to see the indentation. You see the flashing bar here, the indentation for where we type our color or our attribute and then whatever value that we want. And let's just do this. Let's type font size and we'll call this extra large. And we see that we can make something that is normally very small into something that is very large. We could do this with our styles. Not the best use of CSS, but it can be done. So we can place maybe a second selector here. Let's go back to our H1 and let's change this to, say, color blue, and Control S to save. And we see now that our color up here is blue. Now let me show you just a hint about what we mean by the cascade. If I take here in my embedded styles and I create a style rule that says make the color of that selected element blue. If I come back down to this opening tag here for the H1 and press style equals color red, Control S to save, you'll see that now it turns red. So why is this style that was defined up here as blue, why does this style down here override the style that's up here? And the basic rule of thumb is this, said as simply as you can make it. It's a little bit more complex than this, but it's basically a true statement, is that the style rule that is closest to the actual content is always going to win. And so here, the style rule of red is closest to the actual content, and so it's the one that's going to win. That's not true 100% of the time, but it's true 99-point-something% of the time. So I'm going to take that out, Control S to save. That takes us back to H1 is blue. Now this is how we create embedded styles. We put them always in the head section, and we'll have an opening and closing style tag, and then we just use indentation to help organize these and hit those lines down. And you don't have to. If I could do this, H2, I can hit the opening curly brace here, and I could put color, how about aqua, Control S to save, and then you can see that my H2 here is now the aqua color. And here I didn't hit enter between the curly braces so that my rule takes up 3 lines. I just did it all on 1 line like this. But as we start getting into longer sets of rules like this, then we find that we might start getting very long lines, and it's better to put them on separate lines. The third way to work with styles is to stay away from the inline, and we don't even want to put the embedded styles inside of an HTML page, simply to save space, make things easier to read. Plus, remember this, these styles only refer to H6, H1, H2 elements that are on this particular page. And so what if I had a website with hundreds of pages? So here what we're going to do here is we're going to have a new style. I've already got it created. It's just a blank CSS style sheet, styles.css. You can name it anything you want to. Styles.css. I can come into my index file, and then I can simply take out these style rules like this. Control X to cut those out. Go to my styles page. Control V to paste these in. I get some crazy indentation. I'm going to just highlight it all and then hit Shift Tab to pull this back over. And now everything's lining up nice and perfectly the way you see it. And so the styles here, the style rules that you write in an external style sheet, look exactly like they do in an embedded sheet, with one exception, and that is we do not use the style tags. We take out those style tags. Style tags are only to be placed inside of an HTML file because those style tags are actually HTML element tags. So right here after title, the one thing I have to do, I'm going to hit Control S, by the way, to save this real quick. Notice that all of my content went back to normal because I took the styles out of the head section. And my styles are right here inside of this styles.css file. Control S to save. I'm going to go to index. And then right here, I'm just going to type in a link element because I have to link this HTML page to this style sheet. These styles are never ever going to work for this page unless I link the HTML page and the CSS page together. So I type a link, and then we have this one attribute in here, relationship equals style sheet. And then it says here href, which is where is that style sheet located. And here, since the style sheet is in the same folder as my HTML page, I'll just type style.css. Control S to save that. And then you can see that now the styles are applied again over here in the live preview browser. So the 3 ways to place styles is 1, by inline, but that's not a good idea unless it's absolutely mandatory. And then the other way is by using style section up in the head section. And the third way is by using an external style sheet. And the advantage of an external style sheet is that you can link, if you had a website with 300 pages in it, you could link every one of those 300 pages to this one style sheet, and then that way you're only writing your styles in one location. And if you needed to change something that appears on all 300 pages, you could change that right here, and then it would appear automatically in all of the pages that are linked to it.